Hey guys, in this video I want to have a look at some of the scopes with you. The scopes allow us to visualize the data in the image and have a better understanding of exactly where that color range is. Guys, sometimes we may find ourselves working in different places. We could have different lighting. If there's like a yellowish light, that can affect your eyes. All the ambient light can affect the way that we see light. Our eyes are, unfortunately, they adjust to their surroundings, so they can shift and we cannot even be aware of it, guys. So most of all, I try and stay away from like yellow incandescent lights and work in natural daylight or in darkness. But even then, I've found that after a while of looking at the screen, what I think is white can be slightly blue or slightly yellow. And sometimes I've used like an auto white balance and I've just thought, oh, that doesn't look right, even though I've used an auto white balance. But actually my eyes have changed. So I might go for a little walk, just look outside a little bit, let my eyes adjust back to normal colors and then come back and then be like, oh yeah, that makes sense now. So guys, all that's to say is our eyes are not dependable. Our screens can also not be dependable as well, guys. We want to be using Pantone screens, but even those may need calibrating. I found my small laptop OLED monitor looks different to this monitor, so it did need calibration, and you might find that as well. Luckily, there are some tools like the Pantone Huey, which is quite cheap, and other monitor calibrators that we can use to make sure the colors that we're seeing on the screen are perfect. That being said, guys, instead of trusting our biological hardware, what we've got here is mathematical hardware with the waveforms. And if we can read the waveforms, that can give us a confirmation about what we're seeing in the image. So guys, in this video, I want to introduce you to the scopes and how to read them. If I use a few tools that you haven't seen yet, don't worry, we're going to go into those later on. Just focus for now on reading the scopes. So in the bottom corner here, we've got the parade, and the parade is showing us the reds, the greens and the blues separated. If we switch that to the waveform, we see the same image, but they're all overlaid on top of each other. So you can see how these are the same shape. If we go to the waveform, now they're all on top. I can press expand. So guys, what we're looking at here is a representation of the image here. As I'm pulling my mouse over the image, it's just showing where that is represented in the graph. And you can see basically from left to right, the image is representing everything. And it basically lays across like this. This is everything here. This bit here is the lady, and this bit here is this lady here. Dark areas are at the bottom here, and light areas are at the top. We can see we've not quite hit the bottom or the top, so it means we've not lost any data basically in this image, which is great. Now, the colors are represented by the colors, so where there's red at the bottom, it means instead of having a pure black, we've got a little bit of shifted colors at the bottom, and instead of having a pure white, we've got a little bit of red at the top. So sometimes, guys, ideally, we may want to balance our image so the very blacks are black and the very whites are white. This image is already looking really nice to me, guys, so I don't feel like we need to do that. But if I did want to do that, guys, I could grab this darks level and just pull it up a little bit, and now we've got a white line at the bottom, and I could have done that with the blacks as well, but that's quite white there now. And now to try and get rid of that red at the top, let's go to the other side of this HDR wheel, and specular might be too bright. Let's try highlights. Just pull that down a little bit. So look, I'm putting the reds at the top here down. So now we've got our blacks are a little bit more black and our whites are a little bit more white. Let's undo that. So That's after. That's before. It's a very subtle shift, guys. That's before. That's after. So that's just a way of reading the graph to try and match some of these colors up to get a pure black or a pure white. This area at the bottom here represents our sort of black level. And so we've kind of increased our black level to around 10%. We're not going to the blackest it could be. We could, if we wanted a more contrasty image, we could bring the black level down. And that's a stylistic choice. But basically, once we've made that stylistic choice, we want images in the same sequence and really throughout the whole film to have that sort of similar level of black level. So if I go to the next clip, you can see here that our blacks are in a similar place. Here it's at a similar level, look. And here it's mostly at a similar level, but it's going a little bit darker in places. And guys, we can see again that there's a lot of reds in the shadows. If I wanted to sort of tidy this up a little bit, make her top a little bit more black, I could go over to my HDR and go to my blacks and just lift up the red a bit. I have to go into darks. And now her jumper is becoming more black. And the white level, again, we're seeing a little bit of red there. So I could go over to my highlights and my speculars and just try playing with that, putting it down a little bit. So look at the next clip. So we can see, yeah, blacks are in a pretty similar place. And we can see quite a nice spread of colors here. We can see all the reds. The reds are generally higher than the greens and the blues throughout the midtones. Also the shadows and the highlights. So we could try and correct those again if we want. And there we go. So guys, basically the waveform is showing us the image from left to right and the spread of the colors and how bright they are. The parade is the same thing, but it's just split into the red, green and blue. So we see it as separate images. And finally, we've got a vector scope. Now guys, the vector scope can be an easy way of seeing the colors. Look, we've got red, magenta, blue, cyan, green and yellow. And here we can see, look, this image is all mostly in this sort of skin tone, yellow, gold region. And all these other colors have been kind of cancelled out. So if we were looking at the waveform, we might think, oh, there's quite a lot of different colors there, but a lot of the time those colors are cancelling each other out. And in the vector scope, we can see, yeah, most of it is all going towards red. And it's quite a thin, it's quite a stylistic choice of colors, basically. That's all quite thin, heading up towards red. And this line here on the vector scope represents skin tones. So we can see it's all within skin tones. A little bit on the red side of the skin tones, which is an artistic choice. If we hover over the image, we can see exactly where we are on the scope. We can also zoom in a little bit. Oh, we've got the 2x zoom already on, so that's it. Normally, that's a 2x zoom on. And basically, the length of this bar is indicating the saturation. If I pull saturation out of the image, you can see it's shrinking to black and white. If I increase saturation, you can see it's spreading out and we're getting more colors, but it's not what I'm looking for with this image. Okay. So guys, those are the main three that we use. Histogram is a bit, histogram we kind of use on the camera. I don't use it so much on the editing side, but again, it's just bright levels on this side, dark levels on that side. But here I find the waveform and the parade are a little bit more useful. And Vectorscope is a great way of checking your skin tones and sort of seeing how those colors can cancel each other out and what you're left with, which is a bit more realistic. Okay guys, so one final recap. Use the Parade and the scopes to check your black levels, make sure they're all sort of similar. They don't have to be exactly identical, especially if you're in different scenes, if you're outside, if you're in a shadowy place. Don't worry about it being perfect, but have them similar throughout the whole video. Check your skin tones with the Vectorscope. Again, they can be a little bit off if that's an artistic choice. And you can use these colors here, try and match them up if you want to balance your blacks and whites. It's not essential, but guys, it can be a good way of tidying up your corrections, just to have everything at the blacks pure black and everything at the whites pure white. So, hope that makes sense, guys. Just an introduction about using the scopes, short and sweet. And don't worry too much about those tools that I'm using to adjust it just yet. Just kind of starting to understand, look, this is the highlight colors, this is the shadows, this is the midtones. As I lift up my gain, I'm pushing the image up. As this sort of flattens up at the top, we're losing data, it's being crushed. Put it down. Now we've got a larger spread, we can see more detail. I can do the same to the bottom. Now we're losing detail in the shadows. And there we go. Here's the midtones, so I can adjust the midtones here. And basically we're going to look at this in a bit more detail as we discuss the different curves, the log wheels, and the other ways of adjusting the image. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video. Hey guys, so welcome to this video about the Color Warper. Now the Color Warper can be used in two ways. It can be used to make a general color grade, or it can be used to fine-tune a specific image, selecting color and changing it somehow. Now let's have a look back at this image where we were a minute ago. And we notice in the Vectorscope, greens are reduced, magenta's reduced, yellow's reduced, and we're mostly in the red space. Now, if I click on this node, and you can see a little Color Warper image there, you can see this Color Warper net has been slightly reduced. So if I press reset here, you can see it's a lot larger. And look at the Vectorscope, it's still reduced, but it's spread out a little bit more. Let's press undo. And you see how it's scrunched up a little bit here. Just have a look at this image here when I press undo and redo. We've squeezed the colors together a little bit. And look, I've taken yellows, I've taken this yellow and green areas, and I've basically, by pulling them in, I'm desaturating them. So removing saturation from specific parts of this color web. So this is full color, and then some reduction here. So that can be used in a stylistic way if you want to reduce some colors in your image or enhance others. Okay guys, so another way we can use the Color Warper is to select a specific color range and then change that on a per image basis. So let's have a look at this drone shot. I'm gonna delete all the color grade from that I made before. So now that I'm on the Color Warper tool, if I select somewhere in the greens, you'll notice a little crosshair is appearing in the green section where I am. I can now click and then drag and then change the tone of the green by pulling that point across. At the moment, I've got this auto lock switched on. It might not be on by default, and it's going to pull the whole image, so it might affect more. Let's hit auto lock on. So now I can drag up to add reds, or drag down to add some green, or drag across. Ooh. Add some yellow. So yeah, we could go pretty sci-fi if we want, guys, but obviously most of the time it's best to just make subtle changes. So guys, there's a couple of things to mention about the color warper. If I want a bit more detail, I can change the web to a more complicated web. If I want to see that a bit easier, I can press this button here to make it a bit larger. And guys, if I want to be more precise about exactly what color I'm changing and not affect nearby colors, I can use this pin functionality. So I hit this pin here. I can touch around, say, a spot. So I've pinned in that one free thing in the center, and now if I pull that, it's going to just focus on one very specific shade of green. So I'm only affecting some of the grass and not all of it. But that's probably too focused for this grass in general at the moment. So that's the color warper, guys. Maybe I can want to change the roof a little bit. Put a bit more orange in it. Give it a bit of a pop. I'm going to change the green a bit. Let's refresh that, get rid of those pins. Quite cool and quite useful, just a couple of clicks. I don't use it too often, but it's good to know it's there. Thanks for watching this color warper video, guys. We're almost ready to start looking at making our first color grade. See you in the next video. Hey guys, welcome to this webinar about DaVinci Resolve. Today we're going to be talking about using DaVinci specifically for wedding film editing. DaVinci offers us functionality that other editors just don't. It's used by the likes of people in Hollywood because of this, and it's a joy to use. It doesn't crash and is more powerful, and it's pretty cheap at the moment, guys. It used to cost $30,000 to get your hands on it. Now we get it for $245 or free with some of the hardware. And spoiler alert, I'm going to teach you how to use all of this functionality in my course, Resolve Weddings, in as fast a time as humanly possible. Alright, so let's jump in with some of that software functionality now. DaVinci offers us advanced AI tracking features, which enables us to color specific parts of the image, even if that part of the image is moving. The vast majority of the time, I will use this to make the bride and groom pop out of the image, brighten them up, maybe add some contrast or color. DaVinci's tracking also enables us to make use of a few other advanced features, such as object removal. If we accidentally leave some gear that gets in the way of our shot and is spoiling a crucial image, we can remove that with fantastic AI functionality. And also remove blemishes from the skin if we want to, guys. Most of the time it's probably a bit too much to do this, but for a few key images it can be really useful. DaVinci also has a face refinement tool which we can use for a few key shots. And guys, the great news about all of this AI tracking functionality is it's very fast and user-friendly to use. Other platforms simply don't offer this. DaVinci Resolve can utilize your graphics card with a lot of power, so it's very fast and usable. Guys, DaVinci has fantastic noise reduction and anti-flicker features, which can help us if we didn't nail exposure on a wedding day. And sometimes we may find ourselves working with lights and LEDs that aren't vibrating at the usual 50 or 60 Hertz, and we end up with flicker in our images. And guys, for those situations, DaVinci's anti-flicker functionality is fantastic and can be a lifesaver. Guys, there's a reason why the big boys in Hollywood love using DaVinci Resolve for color grading. I've used Premiere Pro and Final Cut, and I found whilst those color grading tools are useful, they often feel a little bit cramped into the corner and not very user-friendly. DaVinci has its own color grading page, and the tools are nice and large and easy for us to use. It also offers us more functionality like the color warper tool, which can enable us to click, drag and change any specific color on the image. We get nice large curves for editing exposure and nice large color wheels for making those split tones and those unique color looks. We also get HDR functionality to affect the specular light areas and the very dark areas in our image. And guys, DaVinci offers us fantastic hardware that gives us a tactile experience when editing the colors in this way. You don't have to use this hardware, and some high-level editors in Hollywood still just use a mouse. So there's many different ways of using DaVinci Resolve. But for the sake of my course, I'm going to show you primarily how to use it with a mouse. If you understand how to use the mouse, using the hardware is going to be second nature anyway. In this course, I'm going to show you how to build a color grade from scratch, utilizing the color wheels and the curves and the color warping tool. And guys, once you understand these functionalities, you'll be able to create any specific color grade you like. And I'm also going to show you how to create a LUT from any image. So you can take any image off the internet and create a LUT from that to create your own films. So guys, don't worry if you don't like my specific color palette, the colors that I'm using in my wedding films. If you want to make something different, you're going to know how to do that. I'm going to show you how to use LUTs inside DaVinci. DaVinci's got some of its own LUTs. So there's going to be lots of power for you guys to build something and color something to your style and taste. I'm going to show you how to use the waveform and the parade and the vector scope to analyze colors and to help match your images. And also, if you like the style of someone else's look, understanding these vector scopes and waveforms can help you create something very similar. DaVinci offers a few color grading touches that you don't often see in other platforms, such as the mid-detail function, which adds texture or removes it, which can be good for removing blemishes, making skin a bit softer and more beautiful. And it's also got a pivot functionality which can help you adjust your contrast, whether you want it more in the mid-tones, the highlights, or the dark areas. Guys, DaVinci is known for its power in coloring images, but it also is a very powerful editing platform. It has functionality such as multicam editing, synchronizing audio, and even automatic subtitling if you need an editing platform for other aspects of your videography work. In my course, we're going to be looking at the functionality specifically only relevant to wedding filmmakers. You should note that there are two pages in DaVinci called the Cut and Media page, which we're not even going to look at in my course. These pages enable you to organize your clips into various types of folders, and this workflow is just a bit too slow for wedding filmmaking and unnecessary because we're doing everything from a single day's worth of shooting. I think those pages are more useful if you're doing multi-day shoots like documentaries or feature films and you really need to organize your clips. There is also another page in DaVinci called the Fusion page, which you can do more advanced 3D rendering. Currently it goes above and beyond the functionality of After Effects, but for wedding film work, because we're not using 3D animations, it's not worth us going into that, and that's beyond the scope of this course. As I mentioned, the AI tracking is just a part of the normal color page, which we will look into, which does get you that object removal and all those tracking features that in other platforms you'd have to swap out to a different program to access, such as going from Premiere to After Effects. In DaVinci is all there in the color page, and we're going to focus on that and not go beyond that into the Fusion page. DaVinci offers us hundreds of effects, but the reality is only a few of them will help us create a fine art look without going into a territory that could be considered cheesy. And so we're going to drill down and look at those specific effects that can help us create that fine art dreamy look. Guys, these effects have a whole bunch of parameters which you really need to nail to make them look just right. These effects include halation, which gives us a nice halo-y golden look to the highlights, and glow, which is great for breaking down harsh lines and making a nice glowing image. But guys, these can be quite hard to nail. There's many different parameters, and getting them just right for wedding films does require a lot of tweaking. And I'm happy to say that in this course, I'm going to make that as simple as possible to get you moving quickly. There are a few other effects which I may occasionally use, like blur effects, including a tilt shift blur, a radial blur, and some lens reflections and lens flares, which can be tasteful if applied very subtly. But it does require some fine tweaking to make it look right without being cheesy. Alright guys, let's quickly have a look at DaVinci's node-based workflow. So DaVinci Resolve utilizes a node-based structure to perform color edits. Each one of these nodes performs a various effect or a tool to change the coloring of the image, and they're all applied in a sequence in a similar way to how adjustment layers are used in other platforms, but giving you a lot more flexibility and power. Once you've made this node-based workflow, you can copy it and paste it to all your clips, and then you just have to tweak it. But most of the time, it's just going to be a case of adjusting the exposure on a clip. For me at the moment, it takes about 3 days to edit a wedding film, 1 day to chop it down, cut out all the crap and have a nice highlight film ready. The second day to colour all of that and to do the multicam sequencing for the ceremony and speeches. And in the third day, just to bring that all together, make the edit, put some music in and deliver it. And guys, so you don't get confused, there is a free version of DaVinci Resolve, but that doesn't have a lot of the functionality that we talked about today, and it won't even play some of the Sony 10-bit footage that I normally use. And for professionals, it's not much use. Alright friends, so if you're still here, you may be thinking, like me, DaVinci Resolve looks like a fantastic program to edit wedding films with and to take your work to that next level. And perhaps you're starting to see why training with me in particular could be really useful, because it's going to save you a lot of time learning the superfluous functionality of DaVinci Resolve. Everything here is going to be specific for wedding filmmaking, which is going to make your learning process a lot faster. Guys, I reckon it will take you about 10% of the time to learn DaVinci Resolve as it did for me. If you're watching this now as the off-season begins, it's a perfect time to brush up on your skills. DaVinci's really helped me put together a portfolio which I can now take to wedding planners all over the world and to help me secure some large budget weddings and to really excel my career. Thanks for watching this webinar. I hope to see you on this course soon. There's going to be interaction between me and you, whether that's through the Facebook group or through asking questions on the website itself. I'll be there to help you, guide you through this process. Speak to you in a bit.